Hey, Athenaeum. It's Mr. Carlos with Archway Veritas Athenaeum. I have another lesson for you called the crack pot, which brings a couple of questions along with it. Have you ever made a mistake or felt that you weren't very good at something that you wish you were good at? I definitely know that I have several times throughout my life. Or have you ever wanted to be helpful but ended feeling that no matter how hard you tried, you just ended up being in the way? Today, I was going to share a story with you about a cracked pot that felt the same way because she wasn't perfect and she wasn't useful, but she was able to find out that she was loved, despite her flaws. Let's jump into the story of the cracked pot. Once upon a time, a woman named Ching Ching worked for a merchant in Sichuan province. The merchant's home was high atop a hill, and Ching Ching worked as the merchant's laundress. Every day she had to walk down the hill to collect water from the stream. When she was young, Ching Ching made 2 pots to carry her water, and these she hung upon a pole she would carry over her shoulders. She painted one pot blue and the other red, and on each pot she painted flowers. Ching Ching loved flowers, and she loved her pots. For some years she carried her pole down the hillside and collected water. After she climbed the hill, she was strong and able, though she was growing older, and as time passed, the pots too grew old. One day, as Ching Ching prepared to place the pole over her shoulders, she noticed the blue pot had a slender crack along its side. She ran a finger over the crack and sighed, "My poor little pot." For a few moments, Ching Ching studied the crack. "Will you hold water?" she whispered, but she decided she could still use the pot. As always, she carried both pots down the hill and filled them with water to the very brim. By the time she reached the hilltop, the pot with a crack was half empty, but this still left her plenty of water for doing the laundry. For the next 2 years, Ching Ching carried those pots down the hillside every morning. When she reached the stream, she filled them to the brim, and afterward she walked back up the hill, balancing the pole across her shoulders. By the time she reached the house, the cracked blue pot was only half full, just enough for the laundry. Each day, Ching Ching examined the crack, and though it was growing a little longer, she decided all was well. What she didn't notice was that the poor blue pot was miserable. Each time it drank from the stream, it secretly hoped that this day all the water would stay inside its belly. But each day when they reached the top of the hill, the pot knew it had failed. The blue pot glanced at the red pot and saw water filled to the top, and the blue pot began to feel desolate. In its resting place on the far side of Ching Ching's little hut, the blue pot worried and wept. "I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good," the blue pot wailed. "Stop your whining," the red pot answered. "No one wants to hear from a pot." One day, the blue pot woke and felt its crack beginning to expand. It was certain Ching Ching would soon decide to throw it away. Soon it would be no use for anyone or anything. That morning, as Ching Ching climbed the hill, she was startled to hear a voice she had never heard. "Ching Ching," the voice said, "throw me away. I'm no good for anyone or anything." Ching Ching stopped and looked around, wondering who could be speaking to her. "Hello," she called down the hill, but the voice that answered was very near. "I'm right here," said the blue pot, swinging this way and that to get Ching Ching's attention. "I'm your pot, the pot you made with your own 2 hands, the pot that has served you so well all these years. But I see now my time is finished. The crack in my side has made me useless. When you carry me up the hill, I spill all my water. I'm no good." For a long moment, Ching Ching stood very still, amazed that her pot had spoken. "Is that you?" she whispered, looking close. "Are you speaking, dear pot?" "It is I," the pot said. "I am so sorry I have failed you, but I have." Ching Ching was overjoyed to know her pots were as full of life as she had always imagined, but she was sad to hear such sorrowful words. "But, Pot, you don't understand," she said. "You haven't been paying attention. Look around." Ching Ching pointed to the path beside them, the path up the hill, and for the first time the pot stopped looking inward and instead looked out. On the right side of the hill, the pot noticed beautiful flowers growing in abundance. Poppies and peonies and chrysanthemum and narcissus and citron. A ribbon of color edged the path. "And look at the other side of the hill," Ching Ching said. The pot glanced to the other side and saw it was bare. "I've always known about your flaw," Ching Ching said, "and so I planted seeds on your side of the path, and every day you water them and add more beauty to the world." The blue pot was overjoyed. All its sadness was gone. It understood, just as Ching Ching always had, that every being has its unique flaws, and it is our little quirks and faults that make us and the world so interesting. It is important to form good habits and work to improve, but part of being human is having areas we can grow. The joy comes in the growth and seeing how being ourselves can make the world around us beautiful. Would you like to do a less than perfect craft with me today? All you need is some paper, some markers or watercolor paint, some creativity, and the ability to see the beauty in the mess. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of steps and then show the images so that you know exactly what to do. Step number 1. Cut your paper into smaller pieces, most likely just split them into fourths. Second, take one of those little pieces and crumple it up. Next, what you're going to do is choose one of the colors, and remember only one, and start to color all of the outside of the crumpled up piece of paper, making sure to get every little crack and crevice of the crumpled area. Once you've added every color that you wanted, and you've crumpled it up several times, unfolded it several times, and crumpled it again, adding colors along as you go, go ahead and unfold it all the way. Spread it out to make sure that it's laying flat. Some of the crumpled areas won't be lying completely flat on the floor. But then what you'll be able to see is the finished product. You'll need to let it dry if you're using watercolors, as well as markers just to be safe. And these will be the images that you'll be able to see. So enjoy making these fun pieces of art, and never forget that even though something may be broken or doesn't seem like it works properly, there can always be a way to fix it or to find a new use for it. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you on the next lesson.